Hello there, and welcome to the Marketing from the Trenches podcast. My name is Will Wang. I'm your host on this podcast, and it's great to have you here. So, on this episode, it's a pretty cool episode, as they usually are. I've got Guillaume from Lemlist. So, it's no secret that I'm a big fan of direct outreach, whether it's cold email, direct mail, LinkedIn, whatever it is. I feel like it's such a great strategy if you do it correctly, if you do it right. If you do it wrong, you're going to get yourself blasted by the market. It's going to ruin your brand. But if you do it right, it can be one of the best lead generation strategies out there. And there's companies who have built up to $100 million using this as one of the core strategies. So what Lemlist does, and the reason why I decided to have Guillaume on the podcast, was because Lemlist helps you really personalize the outreach that you do. So whether it's using different images based on the companies you're reaching out to, or different pictures and stuff like that, depending on who you think or what you think will work based on the research of your prospects, Lemlist just makes it super, super easy. It's a tool that we use more and more in our business and for those of our clients. And I think it's a tool that's going to be helpful if you're in the B2B space as well. So I won't talk too much about it because Guillaume's going to come on and tell you all about what it can do and some of the best campaigns he's seen. So we're going to break down some cool campaigns, cool ways of looking at it, how you do outreach right, and how you get really cool results from it. So I'm going to jump straight in. But just before we do, if you haven't checked out our resources section already, please go through to growthlabs.com. That's labs, but with an labz.com/resources. We're constantly updating that page with new resources and tools and things like that to help you get more leads, sales, and customers for your business to ultimately grow your revenue and grow your profits month on month. So if you haven't already seen that page, do go back and check it again. We are updating it quite constantly. So if you haven't been there, check out the free resources. And without further ado, let's jump into this. This was a really fun episode to record. And it's great because, we actually go into case studies and talk about what we've seen that works really well. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Marketing from the Trenches podcast. I've got Guillaume on the podcast with me today, who is the founder of Lemlist, and this is going to be an awesome, awesome episode. I can just tell because obviously I'm a big believer in cold emails. We do a lot of it for ourselves and for our clients, so it's great to have you on, and we're going to be diving in really deep in terms of personalization, in terms of like email. So, man, dude, I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot for having me. Super pleased to be here, and I hope to provide as much value as I can.
Yeah, I'm sure I will, man. I was checking out the software before and looks really, really great. So before we get into all the technical stuff and I get, really nerdy and get carried away, I'd love to find out a little bit more about your background, like how you got into this, how you decided to, why you decided to start this software piece that's all about personalization and, especially for cold emails. Like really interested to see where your background is, where you come from.
Yeah, so after my master in marketing, actually, I decided to build an agency. So we were a lead generation agency, and we were doing obviously a lot of cold email for our clients because it really works well in B2B. And after using, all the tools which are currently our competitors, so like Reply, Mixmax, SalesLoft, and so on, I kind of realized that they were really lacking when it comes to personalization. And what we were doing with our customers was essentially used personalized images, videos, like some stuff that were not really like trendy at that time and which was working like extremely well. And we had like dedicated like remote team to build personalized image for each person we were like reaching out to. And it was like such a waste of time when I think about it. And I was like, that's not possible. So after meeting with my two co-founders who are like really like good technical geniuses, I would say, like I just pitched them the idea, and then they were like, all right, let's start building something. And we got a lot of traction in the early days, and from there, we kept growing the product itself.
Yeah, it's awesome, and you're right. Like we had a client campaign we ran a little while back where we had someone in the Philippines, a designer, taking logos that we were scraping off
Yeah.
Clearbit and replacing. It was just like there's so much money and effort going out. So like I'm really keen to dive into this, obviously, because I think I'm probably where you were a little bit ago in terms of like agency. we're a B2B agency, so
Yeah.
we do a lot of cold email. So keen to get your thoughts on all of this, man. I think, really keen to dive in deep. So let's start at the very beginning, right? Because I think one of the things that we're seeing, and you're probably seeing with the data that you get as well, is like everything is about personalization at the moment. Like begin to get your thoughts, like where you see things at the moment, especially in terms of cold emails and the changes in the, in the environment, in the market, and where you think that's going to go into the future.
Mm. Yeah, so as you said, I think like personalization is big, but I feel like because we're in that space, we kind of overestimate how people overall see cold email. Because for some people, for example, adding the first name tag would be already like a really personalized cold email, you know. And I think like if you look at all the cold email people receive, I think it's super easy right now to really stand out with your cold emails, because most cold emails look the same. Like people, you know, like they start by saying, "Hey, first name," and then it's like introducing themselves, then the problem, then and they do it all wrong because all the cold email looks the same. And now, you know, everyone has like kind of radar or detector of whether it's a cold email or not. And I think that by adding extra personalization, you really like from the data we get, you know, it's depending on the type of personalization, but you can get like easily a time 5 in terms of reply rates. So 5x factor when it comes to the number of reply you get by adding more personalization. And I feel like the trend is only gonna become like, I think, to be honest, even though it's easier and easier to add extra personalization, I think that in the next 5 years people are going to stay like they are, you know, like it's like people are lazy by essence, and adding extra layer of personalization requires extra work, which means that most people won't do it. And I think that's where actually you guys, you know, as an agency and as like real, you know, like I would say expert in your field can really leverage it, because most people, and I see that with, you know, like we have thousands of customers worldwide, and I really do see it. So with one of the biggest scale ups where they have like huge sales team and stuff like that, I see that they don't know how to do cold email. It's like in the end it's a bit of an art, and I think that's why actually like we love working also with agencies, because we know that they do a great job, you know, at spending time collecting the right data, personalizing as much as possible to get the best results possible.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And it's really interesting because we test a lot of different campaigns. So we do a lot of A/B split testing. And
Yeah.
really funny story. There's another agency out there, or another guy who used to run an agency. He's in all the Facebook groups posting about all the results and blah, blah, blah. You know, I've got X amount of clients and here's what we do. But his emails were, I'm not going to name drop and call him out, but his emails were like super, like the nine letter emails, like, do you want more leads? Like that was so generic. Some of them wouldn't even have the first name on it. It was just like, ridiculous. And I don't know if you saw this with your other clients, but in July, I think Google really turned on a lot of the rules in terms of emails and, trying to minimize all the spam emails coming out from their servers. So I know that for a fact. He got hit really, really hard in July, and we pivoted a lot. So we went super deep into personalization. Every single prospect gets researched and personalized and all that kind of stuff. And we moved technologies as well to kind of mitigate this. But just today, man, it's just so timed us perfectly that we're talking today, because just now I saw him post on Facebook like he's going bankrupt. He just couldn't get the results for his. Like I feel so bad for him because like it's hard to run a business, but at the same time, it's like you just got to be so like, I think personalization is everything, especially for emails going forward. And if you're not doing it now, like you're just going to get cut down really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, like, most people don't really know also like what tool to use. So for example, I see a lot of people who wanted to do, like cold emailing using tools like MailChimp or stuff like that. And for them, it's like absolutely normal. It's like, yeah, I'm emailing someone, so I can use any email provider and it will work. But that's really not the case. And we see a lot of people also want to blast emails, so send them all at the same time, which is like real pain. And regarding personalization, as you said, like I think most people tend to be like too lazy to do it. But in the end, it's like, to me, email is not, you're not going to sell anything using email. What you want is building a relationship. And by building a relationship, eventually you get sales. But people see, it's like you want to go straight to the finish line without running the race. It doesn't work like that. So it's, yeah, agree with all you said.
Yeah, nice, man. And it's good to have, it might be a bit of an echo chamber because we're saying the same things, but it's really good that you come on board because you've got the data on your platform to support everything that you're saying as well. And, we've just got a whole bunch of split tests that we use to make assumptions, but like that's such a big thing at the moment. It's like, if you can't, like, to do the personalization, and with emails, and it's never the goal of just, thinking that we can get to close a 10 grand sale off the back of emails. It's not. All the emails we do is just start the initial phone call. We just ask for like a small phone call, even 10 minutes, just to establish if there's a fit, if we can help the people we're looking at helping. If there's not, that's completely fine as well. So it's all about building that relationship at scale as well, rather than going for the kill and trying to get married on the first date, which is, I think,
Yeah.
most people use.
No, definitely. And as you said, like B2B in the end, it's all about ROI. So if I feel that you're bringing a good ROI, I'm gonna like work with you, and that's gonna be fine. But you can't force people to do anything in the end. So like it's better to be in good terms. And sometimes like it even happened to me that I was like, I do a lot of cold email, obviously, because it's very cheap for us as we have our own platform. But I was cold emailing someone, and they really liked the approach we got on the meeting. And those guys just signed up for a competitors on a yearly deal for their entire sales team. So I was like, yeah, like fair enough. I'm not gonna ask you, like to kill everything. But the guy, eventually what he started doing is he took a license, then started getting like great results, and then in the next 2 weeks, send me like really great recommendation introductions to like other people. And like it was just relationship building. He liked what we were doing. Then he thought, yeah, it might be a great fit for some friend I know. Even for me right now, it's not a good fit, but I'll keep you, like in the loop for next year before we actually renew our contract. And there you go. And I think that works for pretty much any business in B2B, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, awesome. So just having a long-term view of, maybe I don't get this out today, but what can I do to build this relationship? And in a year, maybe the value that I've got with the relationship is more than the sale anyway. So
Yeah,
that's pretty
definitely.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So let's dive in a little bit technically because, obviously this is what we do. So I'm very, very curious to get your take on it. In terms of the personalization, what do you see working really well? Like, obviously deeper than just name and company name, because that's pretty standard, right? Like, what other personalization have you seen work super well?
So what we've seen, I think it's kind of like I'm going to start with, let's say, the classical stuff, like classical personalization, and then more advanced. So what we saw was that people, using icebreakers, so essentially like personalized sentence for each person you're reaching out to. So this guy was performing like they got 2x in terms of reply rates, just because instead of talking, about like, the company or an industry, they were really talking about the person. So icebreaker can be, you go on the LinkedIn profile of the person, you can mention either a post they wrote recently, an article they wrote recently. It can be also a post they like, a post they commented on, just anything that can basically like break the ice. It's like, oh, I saw you went to that school. That's quite funny because my cousins also went there, or whatever. Or that can be like something a bit less generic, like I really enjoyed how you wrote this and this. I think that was super relevant, and blah blah blah. And then you can start diving into like how you see yourself collaborating. So that's like, I would say, the first text personalization. Then in terms of image personalization, we saw like some really, really cool stuff where people were using essentially like dynamic logos, and also like profile pictures plus company name on images, just because images tend to be like super like expressive. Like you don't have to read the text, you see the image, and then it's like some people made things where essentially you could see like the company before their partnership and after a potential partnership, and you could see the growth, their logo, like really putting the customers at the center of the entire experience. And that was like really also amazing results. A/B tested that, they got like same like 3x more time reply rate with the personalized images. And then what we got, I think, like in terms of personalization, which was amazing, was so the Zendesk team, so one of our customers, they A/B tested text only versus dynamic landing pages and video. So essentially you have like a dynamic images, which is a YouTube frame that is personalized with either the website screenshot of the person you're reaching out to or their name. and then they would click on it and land on a personalized landing page with a video, a personalized text, and below Calendly integration. And this was basically crazy. Like click rate was 70% or 60%. Then the reply rate was really huge. And they, with that campaign, I think they booked like 33 meetings or something like that, which was pretty crazy for them compared to text, which was only like 5 meetings. So it was like 6x or something. And and the reason behind that is that the video basically were really relevant to their target. So I think like a point that we didn't really mention is you can really personalize a lot if you're doing a good job at the top of funnel, which is qualifying the leads you're going to reach out to. So some people, for example, they're going to do like, okay, I'm going to go on LinkedIn. My potential target is head of marketing. I'm going to scrape all head of marketing and then message them. That's like totally wrong. You should need, you need like a lot of attributes such as like industry, company size, because like if you're talking to a small business, like, I don't know, less than 10 people, and you're talking then to a head of marketing of a company with, I don't know, 5,000 plus employees, you're definitely not going to address the same challenge, you know. And a lot of people don't understand that, and they tend to mass mail. Whereas if you spend a little bit of time segmenting and, you know, like doing per vertical and per bucket, you would get like much better results.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I wanted to bring up one of our mutual friends, Tom Riley, who found the trigger. He does some really, really amazing things. So I'll let you might actually know a little bit more about this, but I've seen him talk about this a few times, where he actually looks at the IP addresses coming through to his website to check out what he does. And then I think he uses a Lemlist to personalize the image of the company logo back to the person who was probably looking at the website. So it's some crazy
some really cool because now you can have like more information on the person visiting your website, and then you can do like some funny things. Like we also did that once where essentially it was like few people from the team, and we were holding our computer next to it doing like this, and automatically when they visited, they received like a message. Subject line was, "You've checked mine, so I had to check yours," or something like that. So a bit funny, a bit intriguing. And then it was like a photo of the team with their screenshot and saying like, "We just recently, like our robots told us that you were checking our website, so we thought we would check yours as well. Anything I could help with," or something like that. Very friendly, casual, and it really worked well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and Tom does an amazing job too. So I guess for me, you know, there's two sides to this whole cold emailing process, right? One, you need the data, and one, you need the system to automate the emails. And you guys are obviously that system automates emails. And Tom, I'll get him on the podcast as well. Yeah, he has the data. Like it's a amazing platform, and has saved us, you know, tons of time every single week processing data. So I'll get him on, but you know, there's some amazing things going on that you guys are doing together in terms of personalization, which I think is super cool. So, the next bit, and I really want to dive into this because it's really interesting how you mentioned, you know, you get 6x the open rates, or sorry, the reply rates by using images. Because one of the things that that I'm always a little bit hesitant to do and to test, rightly or wrongly, so you know, we could get to get your take, is we don't include a lot of links or images in the cold emails we do, because as a general rule, I find that in some cases it can lower email deliverability. Are you finding that as well, or do you think, you know, the increase in replies kind of cancels out anyway?
To be honest, like with our testing, so we've analyzed like tens of millions of email sent out through like tens of thousands of users. So a lot of accounts,
a lot of
all
data.
over the world. And we actually realized that images don't have an impact on the deliverability. And initially, you know, because like you read everywhere on forums, this type of things, like, or on Facebook, people saying like, yeah, it has an impact, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I also looked at other testers, so from other emailing company and stuff like that, and they saw the exact same thing. It might have been true like a few years back, but now, you know, with all the email provider wants to go to like more interactive emails, so like heavier emails and type of things. So images are like now included, you know, in pretty much everything. Then I think it depends also in the way people put images inside emails. So for example, like we have our own encoding technology to make the image like basically look much better than if you were just drag and dropping an image into an email and then that becomes like an attachment or whatever, you know. So I think there's a bit of both. But to be honest, we have like some campaigns who have like images plus links on those images, which usually would be like really spammy or whatever. But in the end, they get like 95 or 96% open rate, which is meaning that essentially almost perfect deliverability. And I know, like, coming from me, it might sound, you know, like too salesy because that's what we do, but actually that's what the data we got. So I would, but eventually, like, I think the best thing is to test it. What I recommend is also maybe like to test, you know, like different variation, whether you start with text, then follow up with an image, or start with an image and follow up with text and see. But, you know, to be honest, like we've run a lot of tests across like multiple platforms, and we don't see really any difference. I think there are like other things that have a much bigger impact on deliverability, such as like personalization, as you said. Then obviously like your domain reputation, which is how do you treat your domain? Is it warmed up enough or not? And then, you know, like other things such as like volume and consistency. So were you sending 0 email yesterday and now like 500 per day? Or are you like scaling up, you know, steadily? Like a lot of those things, a lot of people don't know about it. And then, you know, it's like, yeah, it's a bad surprise when they get their account blocked or something like that. But in the end, you know, it all makes sense. It all comes to, is a real human would do like this type of things, you know, and if not, then you should stop. Or
yeah, that's such a good point. And I'm glad that that we're coming from this with a data perspective, because if you had said, you know, we've got 10 emails and we did it, it's kind of like not really relevant. But the fact that you've got tens
definitely.
of millions, it's like really good data set. So, I mean, and I think the other side of it too is we test this all the time, and it definitely was something that we were very aware of and conscious of a few years ago. And you're right, a few years ago, I think, you know, we didn't do any emails. Didn't do any images, didn't do any links.
Yeah.
But like just from even last year where we did that campaign where we customized the logos, that got such a high reply rate. The way we looked at it was, even if the open rates aren't as good, we're getting so many more replies. It's still worth it to do something like this. So the next question.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. So the next question leading on to that is, when it comes to personalization, do you find that, because a lot of the issues or struggles I think some people had with cold emailing was Google started looking at every single email and saying, how similar is this to every single email you're sending from the server? Do you find that the images get treated differently? Like, do the servers pick up that it's a different image, therefore it's a different email, or do you still need personalization on top of the images?
Yeah, I think you need both, but essentially like Google can analyze pretty easily any image because they're different, you know, like they treat them in a different manner than just it's a source to an image. And for us, it's pretty like, because essentially each image is unique and Google know it, because when they treat basically everything and the way we encoded everything means that each image is unique, which tend to really like have an impact, you know, for all the filters and triggers that they can have internally.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think that's going to be super powerful, because you know, just having the ability for Google to know it's a different image and just getting it out there is going to make such a big impact. And the image personalization is one of the easiest ones to do. Like once you've got it set up,
Yeah.
so it's going to be super powerful. That's awesome. So I just had another question on that as well. So we've talked a lot about cold emails, which is awesome. You know, love the topic. Most of my business built on it. But have you seen anyone using, I mean, I know we kind of touched on what Tom was doing with emails, but have you seen anyone using Lemlist and doing warm emails really well and personalizing for warm stuff rather than the cold?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, like I think cold email is, a lot of people see it, for example, as one mean, you know, like for example, we're going to say cold email is only for sales, where actually we've seen a lot of people, you know, like using this type of personalization with existing users. So I would say that, for example, the verticals that we see on Lemlist are really like sales oriented. That's obviously like the biggest one. Then we have a lot of people reaching out for backlink. So it's like backlink outreach. Then you have also a lot of PR, so press relationship and stuff like that. So getting in touch with journalists and things like that. Then we have also like the podcast outreach. Then we also have like existing users, whether it's like survey, just because like, for example, if you send using like Active Campaigns or MailChimp or whatever, a newsletter to your entire customer base, paying customers, then you're going to get like a 15 to 20% open rate. That's their kind of average. And then you're going to get maybe like, I don't know, 5% click rate. So in the end, you're just going to get like a few replies to your survey. Whereas, for example, with Lemlist, like we consider that if your open rate is below 50%, it means that there's an issue in the setup that you did. So that's where, we can help out and stuff like that. But below 50% is an issue. And the thing is, like, instead of sending
working late in the office and just went dark.
That's the time zone difference. Yeah, so essentially, like, basically, yeah. So whenever they want to reach out to existing customers and really want to make the most out of a survey, we've seen a lot of our users using Lemlist because they're not in a rush, like with Active Campaign or MailChimp, and you're just going to blast, to 1,000 or 2,000 people at the same time. Whereas what you could do is actually like spread the sending of your emails across multiple days, have like the highest open rate possible, and then get tons of replies to your survey. Especially the fact that you can actually really personalize images and videos, which really built like a great relationship with your customers, because people want, like, you work with people, like we work with people, we build relationships. And if someone, asks you a favor, you're much more willing to say yes rather than just a random text email that looks like a fucking newsletter and is sent, to thousands of people. Whereas if you see someone like chatting like, hey, we're just building like this survey, and you can even mention that it's like automatic and stuff like that, but just the fact that, you're acting and you're like a real person, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's something that I'm going to experiment with. And I'll come back to you with some data around this too. But one of the things that we're doing, especially for the agency, is, we've actually got a pretty good waiting list because, for us, one of the philosophies was that we want our current stable of clients to get really good results before we take on any new clients. But what we do is once a month, we open up the calendar and say, look, if you want to come on board for the next 3 or 4 days, here's the calendar. This is the only time it's going to be open for new client intake. So one thing I was going to experiment with was taking that approach and using Lemlist to personalize the outreach for that part of it, rather than doing it with an Active Campaign. Because Active Campaign is great for newsletters, like, hey guys, new podcast episode out. But the other side of it is, if we can personalize a little bit more, I think that's going to get more traction, more people booking through. So I'll come back to you on how that does.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So look, man, G, thanks so much for doing it. Like, it's really good to talk to you about cold emails, because there's, I think, a lot of misconceptions out there about, first of all, what cold emails are. And then secondly, even I was a little bit confused about the images and how it affects email deliverability and all that kind of stuff. So really appreciate all the information you've got based on the tens of millions of emails that you guys have sent from your platform. For everyone listening, what's the best way to get onto Lemlist? Like, how can they reach out to you?
So if they want to check Lemlist, it's lemlist.com website, and then you have like 14-day free trial. If they need more, they can always ask on the support. And regarding like connecting with me, if they have any questions, the best way is to reach out on LinkedIn. Since my first name is pretty much unpronounceable, just go to Lemlist and find the CEO, and you'll find me. Or you can maybe put a link.
Hey, I'll definitely link it out to people. So it's really funny because with all when we connected on LinkedIn and on emails, you just sign off with G. So I'm like, hey, G, what's up?
G is the best. Like, I will update my first name on LinkedIn too.
No, but it's actually really funny too because like I had a housemate. I was telling you this before, but I had a housemate, Guillermo, who's Italian Peruvian, and Guillermo in Italian is Will, and your first name in French is Will too. So
yeah, that's the same.
Like international, man. International marketing. So hey, just before we wrap up, I've got one last question I wanted to ask you. A bit of a trippy one, but what question should I have asked you that I haven't asked?
Wow. That's a tough one. What question should you have asked me? Well, no, overall, I think like we covered quite a lot of things. Maybe we could have talked a bit more about, regarding the topic. I think follow-ups and the way you structure a campaign is always interesting. like how many steps do you put, how long between each steps. Like that's also questions people often ask when it comes to cold email, and can really make an impact, because we see that you get much more replies actually in the follow-ups than just on the first step. So following up is the key, and maybe that's something we could have discussed, but apart from that, I mean, was really great.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's the key as well. And I think that's a whole episode by itself. So
Yeah,
what I'll
definitely.
do next time is, why don't we do, I think it'd be fun to look at one of my email sequences too, because, I'm
Yeah,
out here
definitely.
saying, oh, I'm good at email, but it'd be good to get your take on it versus the data of everyone else. And we can shoot it down and be like, you're actually not that good, man. Like, okay, might be okay. So, dude, I would love to have you back on. And yeah, thanks so much for sharing all your knowledge and all the
Yeah,
data from the
definitely,
platform as
man.
well. It's always great to talk to people who base their conversation around data and what's actually working. So
Yeah,
thanks
definitely,
again.
man. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.